look at crossovers today, they come in all shapes and sizes. You've got ones that look like minivans, you've got ones that try to ape real off-roaders, and you've got a whole bunch that's something in between. Then, of course, you've got this, the Toyota Venza. And like many crossovers, it doesn't really try to follow the off-road rough boy stance. It doesn't have any roof racks, it's not really what you call jacked up, and it doesn't have any tough macho body cladding.
When you're driving these cars, you essentially have to remember you're driving a front-wheel drive car with rear-wheel drive assist. It's not a true 4x4. It was never designed to be a 4x4. It was built to a price point. Case in point here, I'm driving the Toyota Venza. Now, it's just a lesser edition of the Lexus that we had out earlier. But sometimes less is more.
But yet it still has a taller driving position than most cars. And that said, if I were to liken this vehicle to perhaps something, I'd probably consider it to be the modern equivalent of the traditional North American station wagon.
There's something to be said about the exterior of this car. It's the ugliest root beer brown I've ever seen on a vehicle. If they ever re-release National Lampoon's Vacation, this will be the Griswold's official ride right here. It just couldn't get any more boring than this thing.
Having said that, the Venza has other attributes which basically make it a worthy successor to the station wagon. It's got big, comfortable seats in it. I could sit in this thing for thousands of miles at a time and not feel uncomfortable. Out back, you've got plenty of space for the kids, enough to keep them happy. Of course, you can get DVD screens and all manner of info entertainment setups these days. And of course, the trunk space is decent enough. We've been hauling our camera gear around in this thing, and there's plenty of space for everybody. And I look around, the interior, lots of plastic, you got that fake wood, and even the plastic texture itself has that kind of wood grain look to it and feel.
It's got a simpler gauge layout on it that's much more legible than on the Lexus. It has most of the bells and whistles. The backup camera's a little smaller. Let's not forget, this was built to a price point.
Also, the steering's rather slow, and you can feel the Venza pretty much rolling and pitching like a trawler on the high seas. Mind you, I said the same thing about the Lexus RX 350, to which this vehicle is closely related. It's also got Toyota's active braking system, which is actually rather good. It's designed to apply full pressure to the brakes under panic stops. And when you're going down a steep hill, or you're encountering an accident ahead or something, it's certainly good for peace of mind, if nothing else.
Which brings me on to the fact that this is a Toyota and it has a sport setting in the transmission. Why it's got a sport setting and then it's got an eco light on here to remind you that you're driving green. If you really want to drive green, you're not going to drive one of these things. Let's face it, we're all environmental pigs. We're just out here burning up dinosaurs and blowing crap up.
It's very much designed for long distance cruising. And the fact that we're out here on this rough winter off-road course means it's pretty much out of its comfort zone. This particular Venza is powered by Toyota's 2.7 litre four-cylinder engine, and considering this thing is quite heavy, well, it weighs over 4,000 pounds, it's struggling to keep up somewhat, especially over some of the steeper grades. Also, despite the fact that it has Toyota's all-wheel drive system and traction control, it's struggling a bit with the conditions out here today. Mind you, they are pretty slippery.
For all the marketing that they do with these cars, showing them in action shots, bashing through the boonies with these things, driving them down the beach, really they can't live up to that. What they will do a great job of, though, is driving you down a gravel cottage road, dropping the kids off at school through a bit of snow. They're excellent for that.
You know, it's kind of an interesting paradox, isn't it? You've got this sort of macho off-road image that crossovers try to convey, but at the same time, some of them really can't venture too far off the black stuff. When all's said and done, it's rather a pleasing vehicle. I think pleasant is probably the best way to describe it. It doesn't do anything bad, it doesn't do anything really, really outstanding either, but for most Toyota customers, that's probably just fine. It doesn't offend, it just does what's asked of it, and of course, being a Toyota, it'll probably never break down either.
But this is what a Toyota driver wants. They don't want flash, they want style, they want substance. Gives them a little bit of that. Really not going to make your neighbors jealous with something like this.
It's a decently capable vehicle, and certainly for your average soccer mum or family, we're never likely to encounter anything more slippery than a bit of rain or perhaps a bit of black ice on a winter's day. It's more than up to the task.